So let me ask you this, Luke. What should be UFC's handling of the title picture moving forward? Obviously, that could be dictated by whether Kai Asakura in his UFC debut takes the title from Pantoja. But you got Royval at number 1 coming off of a very solid win against Tatsuya Taira. You've got KKF in position. Again, it seems to strike to go for the title. Does Moreno's name and importance to the brand still have enough value where he could be fighting the winner of this fight after 310?
I definitely think so. I definitely think so. Again, this was restorative because he was to the point that he's raising, like, distance was on point, shot selection was on point, takedown defense, lights out, basically. I mean, almost, not quite, but almost perfect. About as perfect as you need it to be anyway, right? So all those things were really, really great. You have to kind of figure out, obviously, it's hard to know what the UFC wants or who they think is owed something. And, do they want to go back to Australia? If they do, does that favor KKF? Do they not? Do they plan to go to Mexico? If they do, does that favor Brandon Moreno? So there's all these other like calendar and then geographic location arguments that are hard to understand because we're not in the UFC's war room that will impact who gets the nod. But here's what I would say. I think if Pantoja wins, they don't give it right away to Moreno. They might have him fight Royval again. And they'll probably give KKF a title shot. I think that's at least possible. They may give Royval a title shot and then have Brandon fight KKF. I'm just pointing out, if Pantoja wins again, I think that Moreno might have one more. However, my gut tells me that if Asakura wins and does it in Asakura fashion, which is like, brutal TKO, they might just push Moreno to the front of the line because any of those fights against, if it's Asakura KKF, it's Asakura Royval, like none of those fights are bad, but Moreno Asakura is like, I don't know how you feel, BC, but I feel like that is the best fight. Yes. Is it a worthy title fight to make? Of course. But like, what is the best permutation you could put together to get the best kind of action? You could do Moreno and Pantoja again, but if he loses and Asakura wins, I feel like Moreno Asakura is like dynamite, dynamite, awesome matchup.
It is dynamite, but that's why it's so dependent upon that fight at 310. Because I have to ask you this if we're being fair. And I don't just bring this up because, I love me the raw dog, Brandon Royval. But as much as we're saying here that Royval has a chance as the number 1 contender to be on an island, why? Because he lost twice somewhat recently, including their rematch for the title to Pantoja. I do want to remind you, Luke, that Moreno has 3 losses to Pantoja, not just 2, if you count that exhibition in Tough. Is that fair? Now, the UFC might just do it for everything you said. Moreno is the closest thing at flyweight we have to a star. Depending on where that fight is, Southern California, Mexico, Moreno would make a ton of sense. But to be fair, in meritocracy, for whatever that's worth in modern UFC, isn't that just saying F you to Royval if we're trying to throw Moreno in there a 4th time with Pantoja?
Yes. Royval's case is strong. It's really strong. Obviously, losing to Pantoja is not great, but in terms of what he's done to rebound, in terms of what he's done to stay busy and relevant and good, and like, asking him, hey, prove it at this next juncture, what you can show us, and then doing that basically against the best the division has to offer. It's him. You can't complain if Royval is next for either Asakura, I guess, or even the thing is this: if Pantoja wins, I wonder if they go KKF just because it's a fresh matchup. But short of that, you've got Royval at the front of the line, and it's difficult to be a guy who's, both guys in Moreno and Royval to have lost to a guy before in certain cases multiple times, and then try to get another title shot. So KKF is kind of sitting in the catbird seat here a little bit as well. But it's really, really, I just feel like if the UFC, like this is a division they almost cut, right? They bled it dry. It kind of revived itself. It's still, to me, not fully all the way back in certain ways, but I just don't see them looking the other way. If Asakura comes out looking like he did in Ryzen against Pantoja, they're just going to be like, oh, we'll just give the guy who really deserves it the most. You couldn't go wrong with that. I just have a suspicion that they won't do that.
No, I think what you're saying makes a ton of sense, and I think you're right on. I think KKF is next for the winner of the 310 fight, no matter what. Because it's a fresh matchup, because KKF has CKB, Oceanic connections, and we've never seen him break through and have that big title victory yet. We've only seen him, in that interim bout against Moreno in which he was winning and then until he lost it. So I just think that makes the most sense. And the answer to our questions about two guys with at least 2 defeats each to the current champion, I think that answer is answered, or that question is answered, by them going into the cage against one another. Luke, it seems pretty clear to me that the fight to make really for Brandon Moreno is the trilogy with Royval. Talk me off that ledge.
Why?
They both have a win. They both have, don't they both have a win? Yeah, no? Yeah, they both have a win.
Yeah.
It's a trilogy and the winner gets the next title shot after that potentially.
That's not a bad
I
idea.
just booked the territory for you. It's very easy.
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Yeah, yes. You know what? You make a good point, actually. Yes, you can absolutely do that. That would not be a bad solution to, again, depending on how things go, that would be a reasonable solution to the situation. Yes.